So a pretty big gaming leak just hit, seemingly confirming that yeah, Final Fantasy IX Remake is a real thing and it's going to be getting some DLC, and Capcom also just shared the results of their Capcom Town Survey, giving us some hope that perhaps Dino Crisis will come back. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button, subscribe, comment, or click the bell notification. Even just doing one of those things goes a long way to help out the channel. So starting off first with that Capcom and Dino Crisis news. A few months back, Capcom held a Capcom Town Survey, which I participated in, and it was this really great survey just kind of asking their fans, like, what do you guys want to see? What could we improve on as a company? What are we doing well at? Let us know. And one of the questions they had was, what game that we have would you like to see get a sequel or a remake the most? And the answer to that is Dino Crisis. Now, this write-up comes to us from Time Extension, where they compiled all of the results to this stuff, and apparently almost 255,000 people participated in this survey, which is pretty nuts. And out of the games that you would most want to see get a sequel, Dino Crisis came in at number 1 with over 80,000 votes, which is pretty awesome. Now, second place was Mega Man, and third was the Devil May Cry franchise, which is super awesome. I think it's a given that Devil May Cry will come back. That's a pretty big hero franchise for Capcom, so that game will most likely return sometime in the future, although it's a ways away since the team that usually makes it is working on Dragon's Dogma 2 stuff. Mega Man is a given. They're always throwing Mega Man games out here and there, but Dino Crisis is the one Capcom game that has seemingly been left behind. You know, the Resident Evils have gotten remakes, Street Fighter's doing really well, Devil May Cry's been doing well, Dragon's Dogma, all these games. But so many people love Dino Crisis and really want to see that game come back. And many years ago, we thought it was going to come back when Capcom was showing off this new dinosaur game. And we saw this woman who had, you know, reddish pink hair who looked an awful lot like Regina, the main character of Dino Crisis. But as that trailer would play out, we all noticed the tone of it just wasn't very Dino Crisis. There's crazy murderous dinosaurs, sure, but this is definitely something different. And we ended up getting Exoprimal, which was more of like a Capcom version of like a third-person hero shooter to a degree, where you had these characters that would get into these mech suits and just fight hordes in waves of dinosaurs. Now, technically, that game was incredibly impressive to have these massive portals open up and hundreds, if not thousands at some point, of dinosaurs would just come flooding out of the sky and you'd have to take them all out. Tons of dinosaurs ranging from like velociraptors to the big T-Rexes. It was like a technically impressive game, but it wasn't what a lot of us Dino Crisis fans wanted. We want a Dino Crisis remake. And seeing that kind of felt like Capcom poking us in the stomach, you know, making fun of us like, oh, you wanted Dino Crisis? Well, here's Exoprimal. At the time, my idea, and this was purely copium at the time, my idea was thinking, well, maybe they're using Exoprimal as sort of like a beta, a testing ground for a future Dino Crisis remake. Obviously, the main enemies in Dino Crisis are dinosaurs, but if you can do a game like Exoprimal and have a bunch of dinosaurs, you can kind of get an idea of what the dinosaurs would look and behave like in this world in the RE engine. So it's a really good testing bed of like, okay, this is what we could do with a T-Rex. This is what we could do with a Velociraptor. And then later we can take that information and use it to make a Dino Crisis remake. And obviously you would have to make tweaks here and there because the dinosaurs in Exoprimal are like crazy wild beasts, whereas in Dino Crisis they're much more cerebral, creepy creatures that follow you and stalk you from room to room and sneak up on you. So there's definitely some tweaks that would need to happen. But this is not a given that Dino Crisis will return. However, this is probably very eye-opening to Capcom, where they're now realizing, oh, there actually is a decent chunk of people out there that do want this game. And surveys like this can go a long way to tell companies like, this is what our fan base is interested in, this is what they really want to see. So hopefully this, you know, gets the ball rolling on an inevitable Dino Crisis remake in the RE engine. Again, give us a really creepy, dark, cerebral game with these dinosaurs that are super scary, that are stalking us in the shadows. And if you could incorporate some different dinosaur sounds, like, you know, some researchers have kind of created over the years. I know these weren't 100% accurate sounds, but some researchers put together these audio files of what they think dinosaurs would have sounded like. And it's nothing like a loud roar. It's more of like a low growl, vibrational thing that you would feel in your chest before you actually heard it, which is super creepy. So if you can incorporate some of that stuff into the game as well. You're just walking around in the dark and suddenly you hear that low rumble, or maybe your controller starts to vibrate a little bit. That would be super sick. So hopefully Capcom takes this information and decides to run with it. Now, it is also worth noting that there was a write-in option of the game that you want to see get a sequel or a remake is not listed. And what's really cool is in second place was the Onimusha franchise, which I'm a huge Onimusha fan. I really would love to see that franchise return as well. I know it's not as in demand as something like a Dino Crisis, but that came in second place with almost 37,000 votes. So clearly there is still some demand there for Onimusha, and to see it come in second, I think is super cool in terms of like the write-in stuff. Now, getting over to this Final Fantasy IX Remake leak stuff. This is coming to us from the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit from the user Last Grail, who has compiled an entire list of some of the Epic Gamestore back-end stuff that's leaked out there with some of the code names for some of these games that are going to come out. And there's tons of games on this list. Some of them have been debunked, including Grand Theft Auto 6, Elden Ring 2, Bloodborne Remake. Those turned out to be fake. Apparently you can actually go in yourself and edit some of these. However, everything else has been confirmed. And if you go under the Square Enix section, which was put together by the user ZSarcasm4532, there's a number of different games here, one including Final Fantasy 16, which would be the PC version. And that one is really interesting because that game was not made in Unreal Engine. It was made on its own proprietary engine at Square Enix. So I don't know if it's a situation where 16 is going to come out on Epic Gamestore first and then Steam. I would assume it would be Epic and Steam at the same time, since there wouldn't be some sort of exclusivity deal in place for 16. It should just release on PC all in one go. But that one 100% is Final Fantasy 16. Some people even did some deeper digging, realizing that FF16 was actually in the code. And then the one we're here to talk about is Momo, which has been discovered to be a code name for Final Fantasy IX. Now, this was last updated on August 7th of 2023. But it does have DLC pre-orders that are related to Final Fantasy IX, which user Idaku listed as the Tetramaster Starter Pack and Thieves' Knives. Obviously, these are two items pertaining to the world of Final Fantasy IX, with the card game Tetramaster being the sequel to Triple Triad that we got in Final Fantasy VIII, so to speak. And then Thieves' Knives, which are obviously weapons that Zidane would use. So all of this is really just leading to, yeah, something related to FF9 is in fact happening. And again, there's been so many different rumors coming out over the past couple of weeks. I made a video recently talking about how Yoshi P in CBU3, or now technically CS3 since they had a name change, could potentially be the ones making the FF9 remake. Just to give a quick recap, the game apparently was being outsourced by Square Enix to a different developer to make the remake. However, much like with Final Fantasy VII Remake, Square was not happy with the direction that remake was going, so they brought the game in-house for their developers to work on. Now, if we look at that last updated tag, it does say August 7th, 2023, which could have been when that game was brought in-house at Square Enix for them to work on, which is why it hasn't been updated in a while. And after doing a little bit more digging, it seems like the leaker Midori was the one who was responsible for letting people know that the game was being brought in-house. I woke up this morning to a ton of news about Midori, who I was not familiar with beforehand, and that just seems to be one big crazy circus involving that individual, which, you know, I'm not a drama channel. I don't know enough about that, but apparently some weird stuff is going on with that user account. However, it seems like they were accurate about that information about 9 being brought in. So this is really cool. And looking over everything, I don't think that means that FF9 Remake will be exclusive to Epic Gamestore on the PC side of things. Square Enix, again, really wants to get rid of the exclusivity stuff, so having FF9 come out on Epic Gamestore and then a delayed release for Steam doesn't really make all the sense. You want that game to come out on a PlayStation, on an Xbox, on a Switch, and every possible application on PC to really get it out there and hopefully boost your sales. And this is really exciting. I really loved the original FF9. That was one of those games I played in my formative years, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They really kind of shaped who I am. And, you know, I think back to like some of the stuff that I remember the most from that game, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Zidane's quote of, you know, you don't need a reason to help someone, I think is just a really great quote to kind of live by, especially with so many things going on in the world the way they are. But I'm just ready and excited to see Square Enix actually unveil this game. I want to see what the graphics are going to be like. I want to see what the turn-based is going to be like. Have they made any quality of life adjustments or added new features to the combat, since it most likely will stay turn-based? And also, what kind of DLC are they going to support this with other than Tetramaster stuff and additional weapons. And I'm really curious to see how they change Tetramaster, if they do at all. I loved Triple Triad in FF8, didn't really much care for Tetramaster in 9. It didn't really grip me the way that Triple Triad did, so hopefully they can, add some Triple Triad elements or maybe even some Queen's Blood inspiration into a revamped Tetramaster. Let us go around, buy card packs, or turn enemies into cards. I think could be really sick. But this whole entire leak is just absolutely nuts. It's almost kind of like the NVIDIA GeForce leak part 2, where a lot of people are going to keep their eyes on this list to see what does come to fruition. Again, some stuff has already been debunked, but everything else seems to be relatively accurate. And with that being said, that is the video. Let me know in the comments down below, are you someone who is a Capcom fan who really wants to see Dino Crisis get a remake? Or is there another Capcom game that you think is deserving of a sequel or a remake? And also let me know what you think of this leak in regards to Final Fantasy 16, but most importantly, Final Fantasy IX Remake, and is there anything you want to see added to this game or get a quality of life adjustment that you think could make it even better? I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.